This is not the news we were expecting to see or wanting to see on the day of Super Bowl 58, but it's some breaking news that we're talking about here on Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Hope all of you out there having a fantastic Sunday and enjoying your weekends. But our weekends now spoiled a little bit because the Philadelphia Eagles have given Haason Reddick permission to seek a trade. That news, according to Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, he tweeted this out this morning that according to his sources, Eagles All-Pro edge rusher Haason Reddick has received permission to seek a trade following another disruptive season featuring double-digit sacks. The 29-year-old with 27 sacks over the last 2 years in Philly could land elsewhere. Now, I don't want people to panic all that much just yet. Darius Slay wanted a contract extension. Eagles weren't willing to meet that number. They gave him permission to seek a trade. The same thing happened recently with Fletcher Cox, and both Fletcher Cox and Darius Slay returned to Philadelphia. So this, when I saw it, it sounds as though Haason Reddick just wants a contract extension. Philadelphia not willing to maybe meet his asking price or the years, and now Haason Reddick at 29 years old, entering the final year of his 3-year contract, which he signed with Philadelphia, coming to the Birds from Carolina on a deal which was excellent value for the Eagles the last 2 years, wants to get paid. And it's probably, potentially, maybe the final large contract that he can land as he's in the midst of his prime. So going into the final year of that 3-year, $45 million contract specifically, which he signed going into the 2022 offseason. I said at the time, for a player of this caliber who's really been able to turn it on after a slow start with Arizona, after being a first-round pick out of Temple University, his really stock was skyrocketing, and last year he finished 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. This year his number's down a little bit, set to make $15.5 million in 2024, but if you remember going into the season, he had even said, I do believe I'm a little bit underpaid, and Philadelphia reporters were asking him if he's going to hold out for a contract extension. He ended up playing in the second year of that contract, and now looking to gain some leverage, because leverage, always an important tactic that you have to monitor here, coming off back-to-back double-digit sack seasons, turning 30 years old in September. Haason Reddick wants to get a big deal either with Philadelphia or with another team. So much left to uncover here from a financial perspective, a numbers perspective, as well as what are the Eagles going to do, because they care about edge rushers a lot on this roster if they lose Haason Reddick and Josh Sweat going into the final year of his deal, and Brandon Graham set to be a free agent. Stay tuned for that, but first, make sure you subscribe. Closing in on 72,000 subscribers. Can we get there with this video? Our coverage from Las Vegas all week was fantastic. Exclusive interview with Britton Covey, which blew up, was the biggest story in Philadelphia on Thursday. We had Jordan Mailata on this show, as well as Brian Baldinger. That and a whole lot more. Go back and look at our coverage, and this is what you can expect moving forward and every single day right here on Eagles Now. For an acquiring team with Haason Reddick, they might be willing to pay him, and the Eagles might be very well willing to pay him, looking at the production here in the last 4 years. This is 4 straight seasons of double-digit sacks for Haason Reddick. In 2020, 12.5 sacks, 2021, 11. Last year, in that Super Bowl run for Philadelphia, he was tremendous in the regular season. And then the photo on the screen here was from the NFC Championship game when he wreaked havoc against the San Francisco 49ers. Haason Reddick was really good, able to register sacks against New York in the divisional round, San Francisco in the NFC Championship game. And even though Matt Patricia was having him drop back in coverage, which was just asinine, Haason Reddick still able to notch 11 sacks here. And when you look at the Eagles linebacker depth chart, obviously some massive questions here. With Vic Fangio's scheme, he's going to run that hybrid 3-4, 4-3, maybe run some bear fronts with 5-man fronts as well. You kind of have to factor in Haason Reddick as an outside linebacker, but also as a defensive lineman, and you have Nolan Smith as a backup. If you trade away Haason Reddick, are you expecting Nolan Smith to really take that massive leap from year 1 to year 2? Philadelphia, I think, drafted Nolan Smith, partially thinking at number 30 overall in the 2023 NFL Draft, with the similar build, similar twitch, similar playing styles, that maybe at some point, because of the contractual situation with Haason Reddick, that maybe he would be next in line. Now, he did put together a trade idea, and I think that this is a trade idea that could benefit Philadelphia, but it's one, too, that makes sense for the Miami Dolphins. Ironically enough, Haason Reddick would go to Vic Fangio's former team, and the Eagles would be able to land a first-round pick, 21st overall. That would then give them a pick 21 and 22 in the 2024 NFL Draft, and you can get some really good players in back-to-back selections, or you could pair those picks to maybe move up to get an impact player, maybe an edge rusher who might be a little bit cheaper as compared to Reddick and that new looming deal, or another player of importance, because as we know, Philadelphia has needs at corner, at safety, at linebacker. They might look to get a future Lane Johnson replacement, other needs on this Philadelphia Eagles roster, and then you send away that 5th-round pick in 2024 to Miami as well. I also think that this could be in the cards. You send Reddick back with Jonathan Gannon to Arizona, and then you bring in a player like Budda Baker. At some point this week, we'll put together a segment of some Haason Reddick trade ideas. Prediction time. Will the Eagles trade Haason Reddick? Remember, I mentioned the juicy word leverage a little bit earlier. This does not mean that for sure, guaranteed Haason Reddick is going to get dealt. Y for yes or N for no. Today's Eagles Now is sponsored by Game Time. If you're living in the Las Vegas area and you want to go to the big game here tonight between San Francisco and Kansas City, you could still get tickets available. $20 off using the code EaglesChat, but $100 off the big game using the code Vegas100. Whether you go to the big game in Las Vegas tonight or another Eagles game, Sixers game, Phillies pitchers and catchers are reporting to Clearwater this month, or you want to go to a show like the Blue Man Group. Plenty of those advertisements in Vegas this week. $20 off first-time users. Use that code EaglesChat. What I love about the Game Time app, you're guaranteed to get the lowest price, guaranteed at the last possible moment. Producer Chip and I, we also run our 76ers channel, 76ers Now by Chat Sports. We like what Philadelphia did at the trade deadline, bringing in Buddy Hield, Jaden Springer, signing Kyle Lowry on the buyout market. I'd love to go to a Sixers game very soon. If you want to do that as well, use the code EaglesChat for $20 off. We're going to put all of this information available for you down in the comments section and in the description of this video. And as you can see, you're not going to get shafted with the bad seat, because with the Game Time app, you can see the price point for where you'll be sitting and the vantage point from where you'll be sitting. Some Sixers tickets as low as just $25. Some financial details to get to with this Haason Reddick situation. A pre-June 1st trade would look like this. 2024 cap hit for Reddick of $21.3 million. A 2024 dead cap hit of $19.1 million. Your 2024 cap savings would only be $2.2 million. And we know that Howie Roseman is very creative and very knowledgeable with some of these financial gymnastics on the cap. So are the Eagles going to be willing to take on $19.1 million in dead cap money? Or are they going to try to save some money with a post-June 1 trade? Because the cap hit checking in 2024 at $21.3 million, the dead cap hit number 5.4, 2025 dead cap hit number of 13.6, and then your 2024 cap savings at $15.9 million. So some differences there between post-June 1 and pre-June 1. But going back to the construction of this Philadelphia Eagles roster, we knew going into 2023 with what Reddick said, he wasn't all too happy with this contract situation. Sometimes I don't really like this player empowerment era because, look, Haason, I appreciate what you did for Philadelphia. You grew up across the bridge in New Jersey. You went to Temple University when I was there with Matt Rule being the head coach. He helped turn you into a star, and you've turned into one of the best edge rushers in the game at a premium position. I understand that you want a new contract here, right? But you did sign that 3-year deal. So you sign that deal, and then going into the final year of it, you're like, you don't want to give me a contract extension, I want to get traded. But the Eagles, as we know, with their roster construction, do value edge rushers and defensive ends, and you have Reddick going into the final year of his deal. You have Josh Sweat going into the last year of his contract as well. Finished 2023 with 6.5 sacks, really was in a sack drought the tail end of the season. But everybody had a sack drought for Philadelphia. And the sack numbers from Jonathan Gannon to Sean Desai, Matt Patricia, that defensive coordinator combo, which Britton Covey told me really affected this defense down the stretch. everybody's sack numbers really decrease. But what if Haason Reddick demands a trade? And then Josh Sweat also says, you know what? I want to get traded too, because Josh Sweat is a very good defensive end who might not land a contract as rich as Haason Reddick's, but is going to get a lofty contract from a team that is in search of a quality pass rusher here. And that's exactly what Josh Sweat is. He's not a star like Reddick, but a quality pass rusher nonetheless. And this is a player who, under the Eagles' watch, they banked on him developing. He's been able to do that. So like Reddick's deal being a bargain for Philadelphia, Reddick's deal has been great. So too is Josh Sweat's. And the Eagles have gotten a good bang for buck there. 6 sacks in 2020, 7.5 in 2021, up to a career-high 11 in 2022, as the Eagles had 4 players with double-digit sacks en route to having 70, which led the NFL, and then this past year at 6.5. So this is obviously a pivotal offseason for Philadelphia with a lot of big decisions to make. Everybody that I kind of talked to at the Super Bowl, and when I talked to Jordan Mailata, when I talked to Britton Covey, they're very confident that the Eagles can get back on track because they still have a lot of premium players on this roster. You look at it, they're a very talented bunch, and they're about middle in the pack as far as average age in the National Football League as well. And with a new good coordinator in Kellen Moore, an experienced and quality defensive mind in Vic Fangio on the defensive side of the ball, I think we're going to see this Eagles team be a better coach team, and I think you're going to be able to see the offensive coordinator and Moore, defensive coordinator and Vic Fangio, because their quality coaching minds elevate some of the players on this roster. Pressing question here before we hop on out, extend one of these players. I'm going Haason Reddick, 7 days a week and again on Sunday, and frankly, I don't think it's close. HR for Reddick, if you disagree with me, type JS for Josh Sweat. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Go back and look at our Super Bowl coverage. Britton Covey interview did national and local storylines all across Philadelphia. Jordan Mailata, a good interview there. And Brian Baldinger, NFL Network, big fan of Baldy's breakdown, saying the Eagles need to get tougher with their practice habits in Philly.